Hello and welcome to our panel, Fight Amongst the Giants, AI versus AI. My name is Ingrid Sanchez and I'm the Chief Operations Officer of Sundown AI. In today's panel, we'll be focusing on the battle between AI algorithms and platforms and how these are either working or competing in the business environment. In today's Tech Talk for the Ages, we have put together an extraordinary group of panelists. We have Young Nigel, which is Chief Technology Officer for Survalent and also an industry-leading provider of operational software solutions. We have Roman Yampolskiy, which is a computer scientist who is also known for his work on biometrics, security of cyber worlds, and artificial intelligence safety. We also have Guttmann, a director of AI and data science who has deep interest and expertise in AI, machine learning, and data science. To get this panel started, let's hear a little bit more about our panelists. Guys, you can go ahead and get started and just give us a little bit more of a background and your expertise related to artificial intelligence.
Introduce ourselves. Yeah, sure. So my name is Guttmann. I'm here in Sweden, in Stockholm, at the Karolinska Institute, researcher working on digital health and artificial intelligence in health, director at the Nordic AI Institute in the Nordic countries, CEO of Healthy Health at UNSW in Australia. And I'm working on AI. I've been doing this for 25 years. Very engaged, very interested in how we can, not only from a scientific perspective, but also from a business and commercial perspective, use AI algorithms to really new industry and use the ones that we can. Very short introduction of me.
Okay, perhaps then I could go next. And Ingrid, is that okay?
Yes, go ahead, Jan.
Hello? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure the turns there. Yep. Good day, everyone. Thank you to Sundown for the opportunity to participate in the panel today. And my name is Young Nigel. I'm the CTO of Survalent Technology. Our company provides software for the electrical distribution utilities in providing power to consumers like you and I at the homes. And the industry is going through a very disruptive space at this time, as you understand about renewables, electric vehicles, Internet of Things, and we believe that AI or some form of AI will have an opportunity to help the utility move forward in the future, and look forward to the discussion today. Thank you.
So I'm Roman Yampolskiy. I'm an associate professor at the University of Louisville. I direct our cybersecurity lab. And my research is at the intersection of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity in a field we now know as AI safety. We are very good at creating very capable, very beneficial artificial intelligence, but there is very little research on safety and security aspects of intelligence systems. So that's what I'm working on, making sure that any AI we develop is actually very safe, reliable, beneficial to humanity.
Yeah, I mean, actually what I noticed is that you have a bit of a different background, right? It's AI and a certain area like cybersecurity. I'm working a lot in health. And I guess it sounded like you're working more on the car. You know, you mentioned cars and manufacturing. Is that right? Are these sort of it? Yeah.
Well, I'm actually participating in the panel as a user or a consumer of AI technology more than developing or building it. The sector that we are in going through disruption. And I think like what Roman mentioned about security, all of these situations that you hear in the news about Ukraine and everything else, about the hacks and the exploits, and with more things connected, whether it's telecoms or power, there are avenues to get back into the system that distribute powers that will have an impact, on the organization, the people, and countries as a whole. So it's very interesting.
Let's go ahead and get started with the first question. I think, first of all, it's important to identify what are some of the challenges that businesses are facing day to day. So I'd like to bring in our panelist participation, and they tell us based on their expertise, what do you consider that some of these challenges are, and how do you think that AI technologies may be able to address them?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, and perhaps maybe I'll start off with a general question for those on the audience. When was the last time you checked your mobile devices to see how much battery you have left today? It is about 2 p.m. East Coast time, so you may have checked it a few times. And if you're kids and teenagers, you may say, oh, how much power I have left, right? So amazing devices today that have some intelligence, right? You may call it smart. When battery's low, it may shut down and it goes to battery conserve and things like that. So I believe that if the question was a killer apps out there, if AI can solve our battery anxiety, I think you have a winning application out there. So with that said, from a power standpoint, when was the last time that you actually, when you're about to plug the charger into the wall, and have a feeling that the power is not there when you plug that in? So to convey that message, that's the industry that Survalent, our company, and we operate in. Electricity is a commodity, is available to all of us in most developed countries and developing or developed countries at 24/7, 365, 56 days a year. We have come to depend on it in that sense. But with that said, there's a big disruption in the industry over the last, let's say, 7 to 9 years. When you hear the terms like smart grid, smart city, smart building, and I think we are a very well-known industry disruptor for electricity. You know this gentleman, Elon Musk. So one person disrupts 3 things for our industry. Tesla EV is one. Now you have literally a house that is moving around and looking to charge, extract power. Home battery storage, the power wall, right? That massive plant in Arizona that he's building, and that's going to put into the home. That changed the dynamic. And lastly, solar city. So these solar panels on the roof, that's going to come built in. So homes are going to be retrofitted with solar. So 3 disruptors that has a great, what I would say, challenge for existing utilities today, which system has been designed for over 100 years to move from a centralized generation to a decentralized distribution. And these devices will generate data, will have changes to the network, and I think that's part of the conversation of interest to vendor in our space and our utility. How can machine learning, AI, or some form of intelligence to help manage all of this going forward in the future? Just want to give an industry perspective on the end user.
Great, thank you, Young. Let's go ahead and proceed with Roman. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Sure. So AI definitely is a game changer for every industry. I don't think there is any domain where they are not actively employing it already, or at least considering using it. Helps us to streamline most processes. Have something like an accounting finance department, so that's quite easy to automate, and it's not just other relevant technologies, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, all that kind of works together. Because of my background, I always worry about not just deploying those things, but making them safe and secure.
I found this on the web. You're considering using it to house.
Siri just realized it's part of a conversation. So they are not looking as much at security aspects. We already made this mistake with just general software development. It's full of bugs. We're doing it now with hardware and Internet of Things. Very little security. And now we're starting to do the same with AI. We develop it, we deploy it, but no one considers who controls access, who controls inputs. Perfect example is Microsoft fiasco with the chatbot they deployed. Most people probably heard about the Twitter bot Tay. The idea was to create a social teenager bot and let users interact with it. Those of you who know what happened after modern teenagers got a hold of its learning engine know what the problem is. And that's a trivial case. This is just a chatbot. Worst case, somebody's going to get offended. But if you have AI controlling nuclear power plants, electrical grid, pretty much every technology, stock market, the consequences of not considering safety and security are disastrous. And businesses are slowly starting to learn what they need to prepare for and at least have a plan B for mitigating intelligent disasters.
Perhaps I can also say a few things. So from my point of view, I guess I have a very much exposure to the healthcare sector and the healthcare industry, and You might, of course, be aware of some of the bigger AI systems that are developed by larger companies, but it's overall, the problems and the need in this industry is very high. One of the reasons is simply that we, due to aging and lifestyle, have increasingly many people that have a chronic condition, and that costs any government in the world a lot of money. And so we cannot scale it up by just that our nurses and doctors. That will just not work. And one contribution that AI is making here, that it can start personalizing the care that it is giving, not just to patients, but also to everyone that is in this healthcare ecosystem, such as doctors and management of hospitals and so on, for them to act more efficiently. And that personalization, that is where AI actually can, at least Young also said, a form of AI can help to start understanding patients and understanding what care means and deliver this care. And also it is able to scale it rapidly across countries and different ecosystems so that people benefit from it quickly. So from a healthcare perspective, when you look there, the market is huge. Most countries spend anything from 10 to 20% GDP, and really that will just grow, and it will be unsustainable. And AI is now considered to be a very strong driving force in that industry changes.
Excellent. So moving forward, if we look a little bit further in the future, can we assume that there may be real superintelligence? And in your opinion, would this be potentially dangerous?
I can start on that. This is sort of my main area of research lately. Okay, so yeah, I'm very interested in long-term impact from superintelligence, and it seems to be there is now a lot of recognition for just how impactful that could be, both in terms of amazing benefits for humanity, free labor, physical, cognitive, possible amazing research breakthroughs, medical research breakthroughs, curing all sorts of diseases, but also possible negative impact. Not being the smartest thing around means you're no longer in charge, and so it's very important to make sure the systems are either controlled or in some way looking out for best interests of humanity. And unfortunately, as of today, no one in the world has a working safety system or control system for managing something more intelligent than a human. Even at a human level, it's not quite possible. As we know, there is no such thing as a safe human. The situation is even worse with non-human intelligences. If a system is developed through some engineering means or evolutionary algorithms or uploading brains or whatever, it's very likely that the design behind it is not similar to what a human brain is. And consequently, it has very different preferences, biases, values, and so it's not obvious how it's going to react to our needs and demands. So lately we saw very good business people, top scientists kind of voice concern about the problem. And while Hollywood and media would try to put a picture of a Terminator on every story about that issue, it's not so much about military robots, robot soldiers. It's more about kind of side effects of very capable optimization processes trying to find loopholes, maybe adversarial inputs to the system to minimize computational requirements and get to the goal while completely ignoring how it impacts humanity, environment. And again, there is maybe, I don't know, a dozen people in the world working in it full time and 100,000 people developing AI. So we have a very dangerous situation where safety and security is considered kind of side project and not taken as seriously, not funded as well. So that's where most of my research is right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind sharing a few thoughts too. So the question was really, is it potentially dangerous? I guess what I'm immediately thinking, so dangerous to whom, and how high is that potential or the risk for that to happen, right? I think one could become very philosophical if you start saying, well, if you restrict an AI, will it truly be an AI? So if you build mechanisms that will not make it do the things that it could do autonomously, then might not be so much of an AI really, such as a human being. As Roman said, we have a lot of choices, and you can never guarantee that a human being is doing what it should do. In fact, it's today pretty impossible. And so I also see it on different layers. Dangerous on a more practical level. When I am today working with the healthcare system, where you talk to surgeons, doctors, and nurses, and management, there needs to be an understanding that if you do have AI, compared to any normal linear IT system, let's say, that you, I think, also have to accept a certain risk for things to go wrong, as you would have with many AI technologies like self-driving cars and so on. And probably a matter of how much are you willing to risk versus the benefit that you would get by having core AI existing with humans. So that would be at that level of discussion and dialogue that we are having today around the ethics of AI. Can an AI perform successfully or as successful as possible a surgery on a human being, for example? And so that is that type of dialogue that I need to really that I'm concerned with today. And I guess in the long run, I think it really depends what you view on it. If you would want to have other AI systems living next to you, it could be threatening. But I also think we will still be in control of our own life in many ways, and the AI may not even be concerned about us as much as we are concerned about certain animals, that we are not really trying to influence in any way. So I think it's you have to define what you mean by dangerous. Dangerous as for us physically, yes, perhaps, but I also think the more intelligent the AI gets, the less interesting we will become for them. So I think that's the thing. And as of now, there's also a questions around the ethics of the way of how the AI is positioned and potentially harm us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Now, with that being said, in your opinion, and I think this question would best apply to Young, what do you think that business leaders need to do to harness AI in order to be able to take advantage of specific strengths of human and machine?
The question, Professor question was, can business or industry use AI or harness AI to take advantage between the strength of human and machine? And I think this is very, what I would say, appropriate question for the power sector industry, right? In that sense, it's been operated mostly by individual humans, people who have been in the industry for a long time, and going way back when things was analog only and non-digital. And those are some of the challenges. And just to kind of drill into some details around the challenges, the industry, or the opportunity, I would say. So some basic challenges are, we can talk about aging infrastructure. Equipment for power sector really was over-designed by 2 or 3 times the factor. So many of them today, depending on the growth of the city or jurisdiction, it could be over the design age in operation by 10, 20, 30 years. You have some equipment out there that's been running for 60 years. And when they fail, the impact will be felt widely, certainly within those jurisdictions. So one of the challenges is that if we have communication and sensors on these devices, if we collect the data, how they operate, can it be maintained on condition basis? So that's intelligence, the level of intelligence. That's just basic in keeping assets running, right? And providing a critical commodity such as power. We talk about humans. Today, the aging workforce of electrical utility around the world, right? There's less engineers or people going to this field. It's going to be software and programming and IT, right? That's where things are happening. So we see less and less, and more retired people continue to work on for a long time. So I think that's the balance on some utilities that we talk to. They are worried that when their control room people leave they will not be able to get, they may be able to join, but the missing expertise and understanding over the years how the system operates are very much of a challenge. So in some of these, the question is that can we have system learning in parallel when an action is taken by a human? And then certainly ultimately at some point in time, I think Roman mentioned it, the trust about security. Can you trust a system running, delivering power to a semiconductor plant? Or homes where you have people maybe on dialysis machines that may have an impact if the algorithm make the wrong decision, right? So there's societal kind of impact. I talk about cybersecurity. The challenge of utilities today is really not people hacking from outside, it's operators picking up a USB key, go into the control room, plug into the computer, and it's spread internally. So I think there's a lot of conversation and work being done on analyzing the work or the behavior, the pattern of how individuals operate. And how could that help in the future in balancing between the interaction of humans operating the system versus a machine or algorithm, some kind that can learn and gradually manage that. And I think the last point, as an opportunity standpoint, is, I mentioned it, is the disruption of conventional electricity sector. When you have electric vehicle, you have solar, you have storage, and certainly closing down of nuke and power plants. All of these are changes, a major disruption to the design of the system, and an individual cannot operate by just looking at screen and data or alarms. There has to be strong algorithm. Some of it is termed narrow or general intelligence in order to operate the system of the future. And I think the key point when you raise is that whether does it take jobs away or create jobs, this is what we deem as a significant barrier for the industry to embrace renewables, green, and electric vehicles. If the system are unable to accept that and operate it safely and reliably, those sectors will not grow and certainly more wide-reaching impact, in my opinion.
Thank you, Young. Roman, is there anything that you would like to add on?
So short term, I think AI is a very useful tool. It helps us to connect to the world of data. Large big data sets can be processed, data mined, visualized, and a human can make a decision. It seems that long term, even that function of decision making will be better performed by machines, and we're starting to see it already in certain domains like Texas Hold'em poker. It's all about negotiating, decision making, bluffing. Humans are no longer the best at that, and it seems to be the trend in the future where big business deals will be made by algorithms, not by politicians.
And maybe I could just, from my point of view, again, the question was, I guess, how to balance the strength of human and machine decision making in the future. So I think there is a whole bunch of research and a clear understanding, at least here in the Nordics and in Sweden, on how we, and it's known, right, to have both the machine learning, the AI, and the human being together are somewhat stronger today in what decisions they make than either of them alone. So, you know, chess is obviously that example. We will in fact have Kasparov here in Finland very soon, and I think he will be talking about that topic. And yeah, I think that's an understanding, and I think the industry will certainly, in fact, does today. Effectively, all AI systems that are in place today are done together with human beings, because final decisions are often still made by human beings, really. So there's new systems in place which really do completely autonomous. Other than in industries where perhaps the life is not at stake or critical mission critical problems are not solved as of today.
Seems that audiovisual is much harder to solve than AI.
we have to start somewhere, I guess. But it seems we hear each other easy, right?
Yeah, we can hear and see fine.
We are the experts.
Now, in your opinion, what are dominant AI systems and how will these develop?
Any one of you guys?
So we're talking about different ways of doing AI, different architectures. It seems right now deep neural networks is a way to go, basically emulating how human brain supposedly does it. So we're learning a lot from brain science. We're trying to emulate those processes. And it seems like as we scale our hardware and data sets, the improvements follow. So if you have a way to simulate enough neurons, enough layers between them, and really large data sets to train them, we easily get to human level performance and beyond. A lot of people kind of see this as the large data sets as limitations in the process, but if you think about it, it takes some 20 years to train a human brain. If you think about all the visual, audio information you consume in 20 years and those high-res channels, it's not so surprising you need that much data. So data is available, internet is a great source for it. We can also create our own training data artificially with generative adversarial networks. So it looks like it's just a question of time before the hardware allows us to emulate something at the level of a human brain. And there is definitely annual progress in doing that, and we see corresponding progress in every subdomain: speech recognition, image recognition, generating human voice, sentence translation. Really all the domains of interest have been progressing really well lately.
From my point of view, maybe short one is when it comes to dominant AI systems. I think it does depend on the industry, and then of course, I guess all of us are aware of this AI effect, which is essentially that as soon as it becomes mainstream or commercial, it's not really called AI anymore, right? So it's somewhat a very difficult question in some sense, because theory and translations and they're so commonplace now that of course in its core I think there's still AI challenges, and the AI system that exists now, so take for example Google Translate also, they are sophisticated, but I think there is a whole layer behind that which is not completely known. I mean, I think there's no human translator that can translate, let's say, one language into the hundreds that you have in Google Translate. Also having a semantic understanding of it, for example, start creating a true deep dialogue, so not chatbots only on a higher, on a more official level, but actually have a discussion point. I think these questions obviously still be solved. So I think it really depends on the industry, and then in healthcare, for example, being with machine learning algorithms showing a lot of promise and showing that you can make better assessments and analysis about certain patients. Teams, the other way around, actually, better than you think. That would really depend a little bit today. And maybe the big question is, will there be a dominant AI in the future? Doing all these things. And I'd possibly come a little bit from an application point of view. That's a little bit my critique.
All right, now moving on to one of our last questions. What do you see in terms of future AI systems? Can you give us some examples of what works and what you think will work based on your experience?
Right, so as I started saying, it seems like neural networks, deep neural networks, will continue scaling up as we get more and more hardware, maybe specialized hardware specifically for running something like TensorFlow. The progress will continue. We might have to combine that with capability of writing to memory, additional capabilities, but overall it seems like even though we don't understand exactly how it works, it seems to be working beautifully. It's like this magical black box. If you throw enough data at it, it gives you the right answers, which of course brings up all the concerns I mentioned with super intelligent systems. We also have problems with being able to explain how the decisions are made. This is very important in certain industries. Finance, credit evaluation require you to justify how decision was made, why someone was denied mortgage. There are certain types of information you cannot use for that. For example, anything to do with race cannot be as part of a decision for such a system. And at the moment, we don't know what is being utilized. The system takes all the demographic data you have, all the data from the application, and looks at maybe 1,000 different features, creates different weights for each one, maybe 1,000,000 features. Explaining to a human exactly how the decision is made is next to impossible. At best, you'll get a simplified explanation, kind of like when you talk to your kids and they ask you a difficult question and you're just gonna BS about the answer. That's what we're starting to get. So that's another concern. Are we being lied to by the system? And how can we make sure there is not a built-in bias of some kind? We saw with software developed, for example, for assisting judges in a judicial system, estimating the likelihood that someone will recommit the crime. It turned out that the system is quite racist. And I think it was kind of side effect of data it was trained on, human decisions from previous cases, previous case law. So we need to be very careful in terms of relying on those decisions without questioning them. But at this point, we're just learning to understand how a deep neural network makes its decisions. So there is, again, this mismatch between capability and safety of the system.
I guess, by the way, that system was trained on previous cases. I think it's actually sort of known that most cases you have a lot of tendencies. You know, people that are tall, for example, they get a very different type of assessment, or gender differences. In fact, they found also that if you get your trial in the morning, then in the afternoon, or the other way around, it's sort of beneficial. So if you look at the averages and so on, you know, it's...
You want to be after lunch.
Hmm?
It's important to go after lunch. If judges already ate lunch, they're going to be much more favorable.
Yes, there was something, exactly. So, I mean, if you teach a system, you're right, you start getting a bit of a skewed sort of picture in any case, I guess. And maybe just a quick from my view, and then Jan can also take, when it comes to the future of AI systems, I mean, you made an interesting point. You said neural networks there, Roman. I mean, that's, of course, it would be interesting if that's what it is, because somehow AI got quite a profile in the 60s, and, you know, when the first neural networks and perceptrons came out. It would be nice if that's the one that we end up with, you know, as a dominant sort of AI system, I guess. And then the question also, that's something I'm asking myself, really, you know, there are new architectures around the corner. The von Neumann architectures that we know that practically all systems are built on, they essentially embedding our AI systems today. But then we have, you know, quantum computers, we have, which will change, obviously, also cyber security and security if they come about, and the completely new structures, parallel structures, really brain-like structures. And I think they can really be a game changer. But you know, when I did some courses a good while back on quantum computers, my knowledge is it will still be a little bit in the future, but I think there's a breakthrough technology. Algorithms that work today were totally different. That's certainly.
Just a comment on the application side. One of the what we would consider advances in our technology, when I hear both of you talk about neuron networks and human behavior, our industry probably is mostly operating on rules of the laws of power and electricity, right? So there's not a lot of emotion involved. But it takes increasing complexity of data and inputs and disruption. One of the applications is just called self-healing grid. Right? If there's an outage somewhere in the network, the system should be able to detect where it is, you know, isolate it, and recover as much power to as many customers as possible. And that's driven by, let's say, revenue, so dollars. What would happen if you have a priority customer who's on a dialysis machine as a priority customer? Does the decision of the system make it so that it restore that individual first, but then leave the commercial industrial building out? So certainly there are different factors that would drive some of these algorithms, whether narrow or general, as the way I understand it. but it comes down to, I think what I hear from the comments today, earlier panels, is there are some AI problems to be solved out there that is very complex, and some will be driven by data inputs that obey some laws of physics and rules of E equal MC squares but needs to think fast, right, that a human cannot do. So I think it's different aspects and different applications of AI and the variant of the technologies within that.
Okay, so we have a question from someone in the audience. It goes, if you could pick an industry like financial services, retail, or healthcare, is there one that you would call out to be the most transformed with AI technology?
The worst industry is at the moment the more room there is for improvement. So financial sector is a disaster. Whatever it is, medical, billing, simple accounting, all of it can be automated today with today's technology. There is absolutely no reason why we have humans copying over receipts back into the computer so they can add them and print them out again. And there is lots of people making a living doing that.
Okay, that makes sense. So from the list of industries that they mentioned, which do you think would be the most ideal for AI?
I'd say financial sector is ready for complete redesign.
A minute or two. I mean, from my point of view, I would say, in terms of ripeness, there's certainly I think we have no choice, and that's clearly. I'm currently at an event in Sweden, on the island of Gotland. So the whole Swedes and many Nordics meet here, literally. All the leading CEOs, all the ministers, and so on. It's a one-time event. I've never seen such a thing anywhere else in the world. And I could say that the number one topic that is discussed here now, which is unusually has been around for like 30-odd years or so, is AI. How AI is transforming any industry. And I'm, of course, have a very strong focus on health. And I can just say when it comes to healthcare, it's just an enormous need. And the two benefits that I mentioned earlier, which is about personalization and accessibility, essentially not being able to hire hundreds of thousands of new employees to deal with the information people will actually force us to start looking for autonomous systems, whether it is in healthcare settings, in hospitals, or ways of delivering medicine, or making absolutely much more personalized. If you have a chronic condition, very specifically designated, or I think that is a no-brainer. So I can say that there is a lot of funding dedicated to these AI areas, and that's certainly going to drive and transform it. Huge interest. The biggest bottleneck here when it comes to healthcare is that healthcare already, and health and medicine is already very topic. You have doctors that are extremely tough. So that it's a good amount of education, understanding that needs to be broadcast, distributed to main players so they understand what it actually is. AI can be a complicated topic in itself. So I think that is the industry that will benefit a lot if it's done the right way. Okay.
Just a statement on this. Not surprising. I've been out there talking to a number of firms and startup and AI, talking about, are you interested in the energy or the power sector? And everybody's working on financial and healthcare, which is driving a lot of that more application at some point. So just a pitch for that.
Great. So this pretty much wraps up all the questions that we had from this panel. You guys did a great job. Thank you for participating. And we also hope that everyone that was able to join also did enjoy our tech talk on Fight Amongst the Giants. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Roman. Thanks to the audience.
Nice work.
Thank you.